I came to say thank you for the betrayal.
My name is Jack Mercer, and until 3 days ago, I was the biggest loser in Portland, Maine. 36 years old, driving for Uber after my construction business went belly up, living paycheck to paycheck, while my wife Allison reminded me daily what a disappointment I'd become. Another exciting night driving drunks around, she'd say, not looking up from her phone as I grabbed my keys. Allison worked as a legal assistant downtown, making decent money and never letting me forget it. The irony is, I used to be somebody. Mercer Construction had 12 employees and contracts worth millions. Then the recession hit, clients stopped paying, and everything crumbled. Allison married a successful contractor, not an Uber driver who smelled like other people's fast food. Tuesday night changed everything. I picked up this frail old man outside Maine Medical Center. Must have been 80, wearing an expensive coat that had seen better days. He gave me an address in the wealthy Deering neighborhood. Rough night? I asked, noticing his pale complexion. The last of many, he said quietly. What's your name, son? Jack Mercer. He studied my face in the rearview mirror. You remind me of someone I lost a long time ago. Same eyes, same stubborn jawline. We drove in comfortable silence until we reached his mansion, one of those old Victorian monsters that screamed old money. When I pulled up, he handed me $200 for a $12 ride. Sir, this is way too much. Keep it and take this. He pressed a business card into my hand. If you ever need help, call that number. The card was simple. Gutman Estate Services with a phone number. Before I could ask questions, he was gone, disappearing into that gothic house like something out of a Stephen King novel. I drove home thinking about his sad eyes, pocketed the cash, and forgot about the whole thing. Allison was already asleep or pretending to be. Story of my life. Wednesday morning, my phone rang at 6 a.m. Mr. Mercer, this is Harold Gold from Gold, Silver & Associates. I represent the estate of Mr. Benjamin Gutman. I'm afraid Mr. Gutman passed away last night. I sat up, suddenly wide awake. I'm sorry to hear that, but why are you calling me? Mr. Gutman changed his will yesterday evening, shortly after returning home. You're named as the primary beneficiary of his estate, valued at approximately $89 million. The phone slipped from my hand. $89 million? I picked it up, certain I'd misheard. I'm sorry, did you say million? Yes, Mr. Mercer. Mr. Gutman left specific instructions. He said you reminded him of his deceased son, Michael, and that your kindness gave him a moment of peace in his final hours. He wants you to have everything. I stared at the ceiling, processing this impossible information. Yesterday I was scraping together rent money. Today I was worth nearly $90 million. There are legal procedures, of course, Mr. Gold continued. Can you come to my office this afternoon? We'll need to discuss the details. I agreed, hung up, and sat there in stunned silence. Then I started laughing. Quietly at first, then louder until Allison stirred beside me. What's so funny? She mumbled. Nothing, honey. Go back to sleep. I couldn't tell her yet. Not until I knew this was real. But for the first time in 3 years, I felt something I'd almost forgotten. Hope. At 2 o'clock, I sat in Harold Gold's mahogany-paneled office, signing papers that made me richer than I'd ever dreamed. The inheritance was legitimate, ironclad, and immediate. Mr. Gutman had been a recluse, with no living relatives, made his fortune in shipping decades ago. There's one unusual provision, Mr. Gold explained. Mr. Gutman specifically requested that you never share this wealth with anyone who has betrayed your trust. His exact words were, a man's character is revealed in how he treats those who can do nothing for him. He believed you possessed that character. I nodded, thinking of Allison's constant criticism, her embarrassment at being married to an Uber driver. Well, she was about to get a surprise. I drove home in my beat-up Honda, planning how to tell her. Maybe we'd go to that expensive restaurant she always wanted to try. Maybe we could finally take the European vacation she'd been hinting about for years. Maybe this would fix everything between us. I climbed the stairs to our apartment, keys jingling with excitement. I'd surprise her, sweep her off her feet, prove I could provide for her after all. I opened the door and froze. Men's clothes were scattered across our living room floor. Expensive clothes I didn't recognize. A silk tie draped over our couch, dress shoes kicked carelessly aside. From our bedroom came sounds that made my stomach drop. Allison's voice, breathless and excited in ways I hadn't heard in months. And a man's voice, deep and satisfied. God, Will, you're so much better than him. Jack could never make me feel like this. Forget about that loser. You deserve a real man, someone who can actually provide for you. I stood there, inheritance papers in my hand, listening to my wife and her lover mock me in our bed. The universe's sense of humor was truly twisted. The same day I became rich enough to give Allison everything she wanted, I discovered she'd already found someone else to give it to her. I walked quietly to the bedroom door. It was slightly open. Through the gap, I could see them. Allison and a man I recognized as Will Pritchard, some hotshot real estate developer she'd mentioned from her office building. He was everything I wasn't. Confident, wealthy, the kind of man who wore $1,000 suits and drove cars worth more than my annual income. They were so absorbed in each other. They didn't notice me. I watched for 30 seconds, memorizing every detail. Then I stepped into the doorway. Having fun? Allison shrieked, grabbing sheets to cover herself. Will jumped up, completely bare, looking around frantically for his clothes. Jack, I can explain. Can you? I asked calmly. This should be interesting. Will found his underwear, pulling them on quickly. Look, buddy, this isn't what it looks like. Really? Because it looks like you're screwing my wife in my bed. Allison's shock was transforming into defiance. Don't act all hurt, Jack. When was the last time you satisfied me? When was the last time you provided anything besides disappointment? You're right, I said, surprising them both. I haven't been much of a provider lately. I pulled out the inheritance papers, waving them casually. But that's about to change. Funny thing happened today. I inherited $89 million. They stared at me like I'd spoken in ancient Greek. 89 million, I repeated. From a passenger I drove last night? Turns out he was lonely, rich, and dying. Left me everything. Allison's face went white. You're lying. I tossed the papers on the bed. Read for yourself. Harold Gold, attorney at law. It's all there, sweetheart. We're rich. Will grabbed the papers, scanning them quickly. His expression changed from confusion to disbelief to something like panic. This is real, he whispered. Allison snatched the papers, reading frantically. I watched her face cycle through emotions. Shock, disbelief, hope, and finally desperate calculation. Jack, honey, I can explain everything. This was just a mistake, a moment of weakness. You know I love you. We can work through this. Can we? I asked. Because 5 minutes ago you were telling Will here how much better he was than me, how I could never satisfy you, how I was a loser who couldn't provide. I didn't mean it, she said quickly. I was just upset, frustrated with our situation. But this changes everything. We can be happy now. Will was getting dressed quickly, clearly wanting to escape, but I wasn't done with him yet. Leaving so soon, Will? Don't you want to celebrate with us? After all, you've been so generous, sharing your expertise with my wife. Look, Jack, I'm sorry about this. It just happened. But now that you've got this inheritance, maybe we can all move past this. Move past it? I laughed. You think money fixes betrayal? Allison was pulling on clothes now, her mind racing. Jack, please, let's talk about this rationally. We're married. What's yours is mine, right? We can put this behind us and start fresh. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in months. When had she become this person? This calculating, manipulative stranger wearing my wife's face? You know what the funny thing is? I said. The old man who left me this money, he had one condition. He said I should never share it with anyone who's betrayed my trust. The color drained from Allison's face. What does that mean? It means, sweetheart, that you just screwed yourself out of $89 million. I walked to our closet and pulled out a suitcase, began packing my clothes methodically. They watched in stunned silence. Jack, you can't be serious, Allison said. We can work through this. Marriage is about forgiveness. Is it? When exactly were you planning to tell me about Will? Before or after you divorced me and took half of everything I didn't have? Will cleared his throat. Maybe I should go. Maybe you should, I agreed. But Will? Stay away from my wife. She's about to be my ex-wife, and she's going to need all the support she can get. I finished packing, zipped up the suitcase, and headed for the door. Allison followed me, pleading. Jack, please, don't do this. I made a mistake, but we can fix it. Think about what we could do with that money. We could travel, buy a house, start over somewhere new. I stopped at the door and turned back to her. You're right, Allison. Someone's going to do all those things. Someone's going to live the good life with this money. But it won't be you. You can't just leave me with nothing. I'm not leaving you with nothing, I said. I'm leaving you with Will. Isn't that what you wanted? I walked out, closing the door on her protests. In the hallway, I could hear her sobbing, then yelling, then the sound of something breaking against the wall. I got in my Honda and drove to the nicest hotel in Portland. Time to start living like a rich man. Time to start planning what came next. Because this wasn't over, not by a long shot. The Eastland Park Hotel's presidential suite cost more per night than I used to make in a week driving Uber. I didn't care. I ordered room service champagne and called Harold Gold. Mr. Mercer, how did your wife take the news? About as well as expected. I need to ask you something about that condition Mr. Gutman mentioned, the part about not sharing the inheritance with people who've betrayed me. Yes. Mr. Gutman was quite specific about that. He said, and I quote, "A man who would betray Jack's kindness would only waste this gift." He seemed to feel strongly that the money should go to someone of character. What happens if I violate that condition? The entire inheritance reverts to charity. Mr. Gutman was very clear. This money is for you alone, and only if you prove worthy of his trust. Perfect. I thanked him and hung up, then started making calls. First, I called our bank. As the primary account holder, I had every right to close our joint accounts and open new ones in my name only. The customer service representative was extremely helpful when I mentioned I'd be depositing a rather large inheritance check. Next, I called our landlord. The lease was in my name, but I wanted to transfer it to Allison. She'll be taking over all responsibilities, I explained. I'll email you the paperwork. Then I called the utility companies. Gas, electric, cable, internet. Everything was in my name. I arranged to have it all transferred to Allison, effective immediately. She'd wanted independence so badly. Now she could have it. My phone started ringing around noon. Allison. Jack, what did you do? My credit card was declined at lunch. The bank says our accounts are closed. I opened new accounts. The joint ones were closed this morning. You can't do that. That's my money too. Actually, it's not. The inheritance is in my name only, and I moved my Uber earnings to the new account. You still have your salary. Jack, this is insane. Come home so we can talk about this like adults. I am home. The Eastland Park Presidential Suite. You should try the room service here. It's excellent. Oh, wait, you can't afford it anymore. She hung up. The phone rang again immediately. Jack, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please come home. I'll do anything to make this right. Anything? Would you unscrew Will Pritchard? Silence. That's what I thought. Goodbye, Allison. I spent the afternoon meeting with Harold Gold and a financial advisor, setting up accounts and investment strategies. By evening, I was officially worth $89 million, with more money earning interest every minute than I used to make in a year. My phone buzzed with a text from Allison. The landlord says I'm responsible for the lease now. I can't afford this place on my own. I texted back, should have thought of that before you decided Will was a better provider. She called immediately. Jack, please, I'll lose the apartment. I'll have nowhere to go. I'm sure Will has a nice place. He seemed pretty comfortable in our bed. Will won't return my calls. I think he's avoiding me since he found out about the money. Shocking. A gold digger abandoning ship when the gold runs out. Don't be cruel, Jack. I made a mistake, but I don't deserve to be homeless. You're not homeless. You have a job, you have an apartment. You just have to pay for it yourself now. Welcome to adulthood. I hung up and ordered another bottle of champagne. Tomorrow, I'd start looking for a house. Something with character, like Mr. Gutman's Victorian mansion. Something that said, I made it, to everyone who'd written me off. The next morning brought a call from my old friend, Eddie Kowalski. Eddie tended bar at Murphy's Pub downtown, where I used to drink away my sorrows after particularly bad days. Jack, what the heck is going on? Allison came in here last night crying, saying you inherited millions and left her. Please tell me this is some kind of joke. No joke, Eddie. I'm rich and I'm single. Want to grab lunch? Somewhere expensive. We met at Holy Donut. Nothing fancy, but Eddie's kind of place. I told him the whole story, the mysterious passenger, the inheritance, finding Allison with Will. Jesus, Jack. 89 million and she was cheating the whole time? Apparently. She said Will was a better provider, that I could never satisfy her. Funny how quickly that changed when she saw the inheritance papers. Eddie shook his head. I never liked her, you know. Always thought she was too good for everyone, including you. But this is cold, man, even for her. It gets better. Will Pritchard, the guy she was screwing? He's some big shot real estate developer, drives a Porsche, wears $1,000 suits, everything I wasn't. Wait, Will Pritchard? I know that name. He comes into Murphy's sometimes with his business buddies. Loud, obnoxious, tips like crap. Always bragging about his deals and his car. His car? Yeah, some fancy Porsche. Parks it right out front like he's showing off. Silver convertible. Probably costs more than most people make in 2 years. I smiled. Tell me more about this car. Eddie grinned back. Why do I get the feeling Will Pritchard is about to have a very bad day? That evening I drove to Murphy's pub. Sure enough, there was Will's Porsche parked out front like a beacon of arrogance. Silver emergency Carrera, pristine and gleaming under the streetlights. I walked into the pub and spotted Will immediately. He was holding court at a corner table, regaling 3 other men with some story that required lots of gesturing and fake laughter. He wore a navy suit that probably cost more than my Honda, and so I told the client, you want waterfront property, you pay waterfront prices. Close the deal for $6.2 million. Not bad for a Tuesday afternoon. His companions laughed appreciatively. I ordered a beer from Eddie and watched Will perform. He was everything Allison thought she wanted. Confident, successful, flashy. The kind of man who never doubted his place in the world. That's him, I whispered to Eddie. The guy who was banging your wife? He's even more obnoxious than usual tonight. Will's voice carried across the bar. Speaking of deals, I've got my eye on this development project in Deering. Old Victorian mansion, perfect for condos. Owner died recently. Left it to some nobody. I'll lowball him. He'll take it because he doesn't know what he's got. I nearly choked on my beer. He was talking about Mr. Gutman's house. My house now. Some Uber driver, can you believe it? Will continued. Guy probably thinks $1 million is all the money in the world. I'll offer him $2 million for an $80 million property. These working class idiots never know what they're sitting on. His friends laughed. Sounds like easy money, Will. The easiest. I've done my research. Jack Mercer, failed contractor turned rideshare driver. Married to a legal assistant from my building. Guy's a complete loser. I finished my beer and left cash on the bar. Outside, I walked around Will's Porsche, admiring its perfect paint job and spotless interior. Such a beautiful car. Such a shame what was about to happen to it. I drove to a 24-hour grocery store and bought a bag of sugar and a can of sardines. Then I returned to Murphy's pub. Will's Porsche was still there, still gleaming. I looked around. The street was empty, no security cameras visible. I opened the sardines and poured the oil all over the car's exterior, then emptied the can of fish onto the driver's seat through the slightly open convertible top. The smell was immediate and overwhelming. For the sugar, I had to get creative. I'd seen this in movies, but never tried it myself. I unscrewed the gas cap and poured the entire bag into the tank. Sugar in a gas tank doesn't actually destroy an engine like people think, but it can cause some expensive problems. I left a note under the windshield wiper. From one provider to another, Jack Mercer. Then I drove home to my hotel suite and waited. The next morning, my phone rang at 7 a.m. Will Pritchard, screaming, "You son of a witch! What did you do to my car?" "Good morning, Will. How's the Porsche running?" "It's not running at all. It smells like a fish market, and the engine won't start. I know you did this." "Me? I'm just an Uber driver, remember? A working-class idiot who doesn't know what he's sitting on." Silence, then. "You were at Murphy's last night." "I was. Interesting conversation you had with your friends. Something about lowballing some nobody for his mansion." "You heard that? Every word. $2 million for an $80 million property? That's quite a business strategy. Look, that was just talk. Business is business. You're right, business is business. And your business just got very expensive." I hung up. An hour later, Eddie called, laughing so hard he could barely speak. "Jack, you magnificent bastard. Will's car is all over social media. Someone filmed him trying to start it this morning. The smell was so bad people were gagging. And when it finally started, it died in the middle of Commercial Street during rush hour. Had to be towed. Tragic. Such a nice car, too. Gets better. The news crew was there for some other story, caught the whole thing on camera. Will screaming at the tow truck driver, covered in fish oil, wearing his fancy suit. It's already gone viral. I spent the morning house hunting and deering, looking at properties near Mr. Gutman's mansion. By afternoon, I'd found the perfect place, a restored Victorian 3 blocks away, with a view of Casco Bay and enough space to entertain. The asking price was $1.2 million. I offered $1.5 million cash. No inspection. Immediate closing. The seller's agent nearly fainted. My phone buzzed with another text from Allison. I saw the news about Will's car. Was that you? I texted back. I don't know what you mean. Jack, please, I need to see you. I need to explain. Explain what? That you're a cheating gold digger who only wants me back now that I'm rich? It's not like that. It's exactly like that. Enjoy your independence, Allison. You fought so hard for it. That evening, I celebrated at Portland's most expensive restaurant, ordering everything I'd never been able to afford. The waiter was attentive, the sommelier knowledgeable, the food exceptional. This was how the other half lived, and I was finally part of it. But revenge, I was learning, was even more satisfying than fine dining. Moving into my new house felt like stepping into a different life. The Victorian mansion had been lovingly restored, with original hardwood floors, crystal chandeliers, and a library that could hold thousands of books. The previous owner had excellent taste and unlimited funds, 2 things I now possessed as well. I furnished it with pieces that screamed success, a leather sectional that cost more than my old car, a dining room table that could seat 12, and artwork that made the walls look like a museum. Every purchase was a middle finger to everyone who'd written me off. Allison had been calling daily, her messages growing more desperate. I listened to them for entertainment while unpacking. Jack, I know you're angry, but we need to talk. I can't afford the apartment much longer. Jack, please. I made a terrible mistake. I love you. I've always loved you. Jack, Will won't even talk to me anymore. He said I'm bad for his reputation after what happened with his car. I have no one else. That last one almost made me feel sorry for her. Almost. I was arranging books in the library when Harold Gold called. Mr. Mercer, I have some interesting news. Someone's been asking questions about your inheritance. A private investigator working for a William Pritchard. Apparently he's trying to find grounds to contest the will. Can he do that? Extremely unlikely. Mr. Gutman was of sound mind, the will was properly executed, and you had no prior relationship that could suggest undue influence, but Mr. Pritchard seems determined to find something. Let him try. I've got nothing to hide. There's more. The same investigator has been asking questions about you around town, your business history, your marriage, your financial situation. He's building some kind of profile. This was interesting. Will wasn't just angry about his car. He was going to war. I called Eddie and asked him to meet me at Murphy's. When I arrived, and he was already there with a beer waiting for me. You look different, he said. Richer. I feel different. Tell me, has Will been back since the car incident? Oh yeah, came in yesterday, madder than heck. Spent 2 hours drinking whiskey and telling anyone who'd listen that you're some kind of con man who tricked a dying old man out of his fortune. What did people say? Most folks laughed, but he's got a few people listening. Says he's going to prove you're a fraud and get that inheritance overturned. I sipped my beer, thinking. Will was more dangerous than I'd realized. He wasn't just embarrassed, he was actively trying to destroy me. Eddie, what do you know about Will's business? His real estate company? Pritchard Development? Pretty successful from what I hear. Big projects, lots of money. Why? Just curious. Guy like that, he must have enemies. Competitors who don't like his methods. Eddie grinned. You're thinking what I think you're thinking. I'm thinking Will Pritchard needs to learn that some people fight back. The next morning, I hired my own private investigator. Margaret Chen came highly recommended by Harold Gold, with 20 years of experience in corporate investigations and a reputation for discretion. I want to know everything about William Pritchard, I told her over coffee at my house. His business, his finances, his personal life, everything. Any particular reason? He's trying to contest my inheritance. I want to know what I'm dealing with. Margaret nodded. Standard defensive investigation. I can do that. Give me a week. While she worked, I focused on making myself visible around town. I joined the Portland Country Club, donated generously to local charities, and made sure my story, the lucky Uber driver who inherited millions, got told in the right circles. The reaction was mixed. Some people were genuinely happy for me, treating my good fortune as a modern fairy tale. Others, particularly those in Will's social circle, were skeptical and resentful. New money was always suspect among the established wealthy. I didn't care. I was building a reputation as a generous, humble man who'd been blessed with unexpected fortune. When Will's attacks came, I wanted public opinion on my side. My phone rang Wednesday evening. Allison, sounding desperate. "Jack, I'm being evicted. The landlord says I'm 3 weeks behind on rent. I need help." "What happened to your salary?" "It's not enough to cover everything alone. The rent, utilities, car payment. I can't do it without your income, too." "Maybe you should have thought of that before you decided Will was a better provider." "Will won't help me. He says associating with me is bad for his business reputation. He's telling people I'm a gold digger who seduced him to get access to your money." The irony was delicious. "Isn't that exactly what you did?" "No, it wasn't like that. I was lonely, Jack. You were always working or driving, never home. Will paid attention to me." "Will paid attention to you because he thought you'd inherit half of my money. Now that he knows you won't, you're worthless to him." She started crying. "I know I hurt you, but I don't deserve this. I'm going to be homeless." "You're a legal assistant with a college degree. Get a roommate. Find a cheaper apartment. Live within your means. Millions of people do it every day. Jack, please, I'm begging you. Just enough to get back on my feet. I'll pay you back." "With what? And more importantly, why would I help someone who betrayed me?" "Because you're a good man. Better than me, better than Will. I know that now." "You know that now because I have money. If I were still driving Uber, you'd still be in bed with Will." I hung up. She called back immediately, but I sent it to voicemail. Margaret Chen called Thursday with her preliminary report. "Your Mr. Pritchard is interesting," she said. "Very successful, very wealthy, but also very leveraged. He's got several major projects that depend on continued financing. His cash flow is actually pretty tight." "Go on." "He's also got a reputation for cutting corners. Building inspectors who suddenly approve questionable work. City councilmen who vote his way on zoning issues. Nothing I can prove, but there are patterns." "What about his personal life?" 3 marriages, 2 messy divorces. Currently single, though he's been seen with various women around town, including your wife, obviously. Ex-wife, we're getting divorced. Smart move. She's been asking around about your inheritance, trying to find out if she has any legal claim to it." "Of course she was." "What did she find out?" "Nothing helpful. The inheritance is yours alone, and Maine isn't a community property state anyway. She'd need to prove she contributed to acquiring the asset, which is impossible, since you inherited it." "Anything else?" "Will's been talking to a lawyer about contesting the will. He's claiming you took advantage of a confused old man. Problem is, there's no evidence of that. Mr. Gutman was examined by his doctor the day he changed his will. Completely competent. Keep digging. I want to know everything about Will's business practices. If he's cutting corners, there's got to be proof somewhere." Friday brought an unexpected visitor. I was having coffee in my library when the doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Will Pritchard standing on my porch, looking nervous. I opened the door. "Will, what a surprise. We need to talk." "Do we? I thought you were busy telling people I'm a con man." "Look, maybe I was hasty. This whole situation got out of hand." "You mean the part where you screwed my wife, or the part where you tried to lowball me on this house?" He had the grace to look embarrassed. "Both, I guess. But that's business and personal stuff. We're both adults here." "Are we? Because hiring a private investigator to dig up dirt on me seems pretty childish." "How did you—" He stopped himself. "Okay, yes, I was angry. You humiliated me with that car thing." "You humiliated yourself. I just provided the fish. Can I come in? I have a proposition." Against my better judgment, I let him into the foyer. He looked around at my new furniture, the artwork, the crystal chandelier. His expression was part admiration, part resentment. "Nice place. Must have cost a fortune." "I can afford it." "Right, about that. I think we got off on the wrong foot. You inherited a lot of money. I'm a successful developer. Maybe we can work together instead of against each other." "Work together how?" "I've got projects that need investors. You've got money that needs investing. We could be partners." I almost laughed. "Partners? You mean like you and Allison were partners?" "That was different. That was personal. So is this. You want to know what my answer is to your partnership offer? What? The same thing you told Allison when she asked for help after I left her. Associating with you would be bad for my reputation. His face darkened. You're making a mistake, Jack. I'm offering you a chance to be part of something bigger than yourself. Turn me down and you'll regret it. Is that a threat? It's a fact. You're new money, Jack. You don't understand how things work in this town. You need friends, and I'm offering to be one. I'll take my chances with enemies instead. He headed for the door, then turned back. You think you're so smart, don't you? Got lucky with some old man's guilt money, and now you're king of the world. But luck runs out, Jack, and when it does, you'll remember this conversation. I'll remember it, I agreed, but probably not the way you think. After he left, I called Margaret Chen. Will just paid me a visit. He's rattled. Push harder on the investigation. I want to know what he's hiding. Already on it. I should have more by Monday. That weekend, I treated myself to a shopping spree in Boston. New clothes, new watch, new attitude. When I returned Sunday evening, there were 17 voicemails from Allison. The first few were pleas for help with rent. By message 10, she was angry. By message 15, that she was threatening to go to the media with her story about how I'd abandoned my wife after getting rich. The last message was different. She was crying, her voice barely a whisper. Jack, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. I know I don't deserve your help, but I don't know what else to do. Will told everyone I was just using him to get to your money. Now nobody wants anything to do with me. I'm losing everything, and it's all my fault. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. For a moment, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Then I remembered walking into my bedroom and finding her with Will. I remembered her words. Jack could never make me feel like this. I remembered her calling me a loser who couldn't provide. Some apologies come too late. Margaret Chen's full report arrived Monday morning, and it was better than I'd hoped. Will Pritchard wasn't just cutting corners. He was running a sophisticated corruption scheme that involved half the city's building department. Look at this pattern, Margaret explained over coffee. Every major project Pritchard Development has completed in the past 5 years has had serious code violations that were mysteriously overlooked during inspection. She spread photographs across my dining room table. This apartment complex in the old port, the electrical work doesn't meet code, but it passed inspection. This office building downtown, the fire suppression system is inadequate, but the fire marshal signed off on it. How's that possible? Money. I tracked payments from Pritchard Development to a consulting company called Harbor Solutions. Harbor Solutions is owned by the wife of the chief building inspector. That's pretty thin evidence. It gets better. Harbor Solutions provides no actual services, no employees, no office, no work product. It's a shell company designed to launder bribes. I studied the document. How much money are we talking about? Over $2 million in the past 3 years. Always paid just before major inspections, always for projects that had obvious code violations. Can you prove this? I can prove the payments and the timing. I can prove Harbor Solutions is fake. I can prove the building violations exist. What I can't prove is the explicit quid pro quo, but any prosecutor worth their salt could connect those dots. This was perfect. Will thought he was untouchable because of his wealth and connections. He was about to learn that money couldn't buy everything. What do you want me to do with this information? Margaret asked. Nothing yet. I want to see how far Will is willing to push before I push back. I didn't have to wait long. That afternoon, Harold Gold called with disturbing news. Mr. Mercer, Will Pritchard has filed a formal challenge to your inheritance. He's claiming you exercised undue influence over Mr. Gutman. Based on what evidence? That's the problem. He doesn't have any real evidence, but he's got a good lawyer and enough money to make this expensive and time-consuming for us. How long could this drag on? Months, possibly years. And during that time, the estate could be frozen. You might not have access to the inheritance funds. This was worse than I'd expected. Will wasn't just trying to embarrass me, he was trying to destroy me financially. What can we do? Fight it, obviously, but Mr. Pritchard has resources and he's clearly motivated. This is going to be a battle. I thanked Harold and hung up, then immediately called Margaret Chen. Change of plans. I want you to take everything you found about Will's business practices to the FBI. Today. Are you sure? Once this goes to federal prosecutors, there's no taking it back. I'm sure. Will wants to play hardball? Let's see how he likes playing with the big leagues. That evening I drove to Murphy's Pub for a drink and some thinking time. Eddie was behind the bar, polishing glasses and watching the evening news. "Hey, Jack, you look stressed. Will Pritchard is trying to contest my inheritance. Claims I manipulated the old man who left it to me. That's ridiculous. You drove the guy one time. Try explaining that to a judge. Will's got money and lawyers. He can make this very expensive for me." Eddie poured me a whiskey. "You know what your problem is? You're playing defense. Will's making all the moves, and you're just reacting. What do you suggest? Go on offense. You've got money now, right? Use it. Fight back." "I am fighting back." "No, you're surviving. There's a difference." I sipped the whiskey, considering Eddie's words. He was right. I'd been content to poke at Will with pranks and small humiliations. But he was threatening my entire future. It was time to stop playing games. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop interfering with my business or you'll regret it." I showed the text to Eddie. "Looks like Will's getting desperate. Or dangerous. You watch yourself, Jack. Guys like that don't like losing." I drove home through the quiet streets of Deering, checking my mirrors for any signs I was being followed. The Victorian mansion looked warm and welcoming with all the lights on, but I couldn't shake the feeling I was being watched. Inside, I poured another drink and sat in my library, thinking about my next moves. Will had made this personal when he slept with my wife. He'd made it business when he tried to lowball me on the house. Now he'd made it war by challenging my inheritance. Time to show him what war looked like. Tuesday morning brought news that made me smile for the first time in days. Margaret called at 8 a.m., barely able to contain her excitement. "The FBI is very interested in your Mr. Pritchard. Apparently, they've been getting complaints about corruption in the city building department for months, but they didn't have enough evidence to move forward. And now they do? Your information was the missing piece. They're opening a formal investigation, and they want to interview you as a witness." What does that mean for Will? Nothing official yet, but word travels fast in law enforcement circles. By this afternoon, half the city will know Will Pritchard is under federal investigation. And his challenge to my inheritance. Hard to press a case about your character when you're the one who exposed his crimes. I spent the morning meeting with FBI agents, walking them through everything Margaret had discovered. They were professional, thorough, and clearly excited about the case they were building. "Mr. Pritchard has been on our radar for a while," Agent Sarah Martinez explained. "But corruption cases are hard to prove without inside information. Your investigators' work gives us exactly what we need." "How long before you move on this?" "We'll need to verify everything independently, build our own evidence file. But if your information is accurate, and it appears to be, we could have indictments within 6 months." "What about retaliation? He's already threatening me. Document everything. Report any direct threats. And be careful. Men like Pritchard don't go down quietly." That afternoon, the local news broke the story. Prominent developer under federal investigation. Will's picture was all over the evening broadcast, along with shots of his various projects and speculation about the scope of the corruption. My phone started ringing immediately. Harold Gold, sounding relieved. "Jack, this changes everything. Will's lawyer called an hour ago. They're withdrawing the challenge to your inheritance." Eddie laughing. "You magnificent bastard. Will's been in here 3 times today, drinking heavily and ranting about federal overreach. He knows he's screwed." Even Allison called. "Jack, what did you do? Will's all over the news. People are saying he's going to prison." "I didn't do anything," I told her. "I just helped the FBI understand some interesting financial patterns." "You destroyed him. He destroyed himself. I just turned on the lights." Wednesday brought the most satisfying call of all. Will Pritchard, no longer cocky, no longer threatening. "Jack, we need to talk." "Do we? I thought you were busy with federal agents." "This is serious. They're freezing my assets, investigating all my projects. My business is ruined." "Sounds like a personal problem." "You did this. You set me up." "I didn't set you up, Will. I just exposed what you were already doing." "There's a difference. What do you want? Money? I'll pay you to make this go away." "Make it go away?" "Will, you tried to steal my inheritance. You threatened me. You screwed my wife and called me a loser. What exactly do you think I owe you?" "I'm sorry about all that. I was angry. I wasn't thinking clearly. But this federal thing, this ruins everything. My reputation, my business, my life." "Good. Jack, please. I'm begging you, call off the FBI." "I can't call off the FBI, Will. They're investigating crimes, federal crimes. That's not something you just call off." "Then what do you want from me?" I thought about it. What did I want from Will Pritchard? Revenge? I already had that. Justice? The FBI would handle that. Satisfaction? I was drowning in it. I want you to understand something, Will. You called me a loser, a nobody, a working-class idiot who didn't know what he was sitting on. But here's the thing. I knew exactly what I was sitting on. I was sitting on the moral high ground. And from up here, you look very, very small. I hung up. He didn't call back. Thursday evening, I was enjoying a quiet dinner at home when my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Allison standing on my porch, looking smaller and more fragile than I'd ever seen her. I opened the door. Allison. Jack, please, can we talk? About what? About us, about what I did, about what happens now. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She looked around the foyer, taking in the expensive furniture and artwork. You've done well for yourself. I've done what I had to do. Jack, I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I need you to know that I'm sorry, truly, deeply sorry. Are you sorry you cheated or sorry you got caught? Both. I'm sorry for all of it. I was selfish and stupid and cruel. I threw away the best thing in my life for someone who didn't even care about me. Will certainly moved on quickly once he realized you weren't going to inherit half my money. He never cared about me. I see that now. I was just a way to get to you, to your inheritance. When that didn't work out, I became a liability. And now you want me to take you back? I want a chance to make things right. I know it won't be easy, and I know you don't trust me. But I love you, Jack. I've always loved you, even when I was too stupid to show it. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd married and the woman I'd built dreams with. The woman who'd destroyed those dreams in our bedroom with another man. Allison, do you know what the cruelest part of all this was? What? It wasn't finding you with Will. It wasn't even the things you said about me. It was the timing. I came home that day to tell you we were rich. I was going to surprise you, take you to dinner, plan our future together. I had the inheritance papers in my hand when I walked in on you. She started crying. Jack, I'm so sorry. You're sorry because you got caught. You're sorry because Will abandoned you. You're sorry because you're broke and alone. But are you sorry for what you did to us? To our marriage, to the man who loved you more than anything in the world? Yes, I'm sorry for all of it. I don't believe you. And even if I did, it doesn't matter. Some things can't be fixed, Allison. Some betrayals are too deep. So that's it? We're done? We were done the moment you brought Will into our bed. Everything since then has just been paperwork. She wiped her eyes and headed for the door. I hope you're happy, Jack. I hope this money brings you everything you wanted. It already has. It showed me who you really are. After she left, I poured myself a drink and sat in my library, surrounded by books and silence. For the first time since this whole thing started, I felt empty. Not sad exactly, but hollow. Like I'd won a war, but lost something important in the process. My phone rang. Eddie. Hey, Jack, you okay? You sounded weird when you called earlier. Allison came by. She wants to reconcile. What did you tell her? The truth, that it's too late. Is it? Eddie, she cheated on me. With a man who called me a loser and tried to steal my inheritance. How do you come back from that? I don't know, man. That's between you and her. But I will say this. Revenge is satisfying, but it's not the same as happiness. What's that supposed to mean? It means you've spent the last month destroying your enemies. Maybe it's time to start building something for yourself. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet house, thinking about Eddie's words. He was right. I'd won every battle I'd fought. Will was ruined, facing federal charges and financial collapse. Allison was broke, alone, and publicly humiliated. I had more money than I could spend in a lifetime, in a house that screamed success. So why did I feel so empty? The answer came to me Friday morning while reading the newspaper over coffee. The headline read, Pritchard Development Bankruptcy, Filing Imminent. Below it was a smaller story. Local woman evicted after divorce proceedings. They didn't name Allison, but I knew it was her. The timeline matched. The circumstances fit. She'd been evicted from our old apartment and was probably living in some cheap motel or crashing with whatever friends she had left. I should have felt satisfied. This was what she deserved, what they both deserved. But instead, I felt something I didn't expect. Pity. My phone rang. Margaret Chen. Jack, I wanted to give you an update on the Pritchard investigation. The FBI made their first arrests this morning. Will? Not yet, but 3 city officials, including the chief building inspector. Will's next, probably within the week. How long is he looking at? Federal corruption charges, 10 to 15 years minimum, plus financial penalties that will bankrupt him completely. I thanked her and hung up. Will Pritchard, the man who'd called me a loser, who'd stolen my wife and tried to steal my inheritance, was about to lose everything. His business, his freedom, his future, all gone. I should have been celebrating. Instead, I was thinking about what Eddie had said. Revenge isn't the same as happiness. That afternoon, I made a decision that surprised even me. I drove to the seedy motel on Forest Avenue where I suspected Allison was staying. Sure enough, her car was in the parking lot, looking as defeated as everything else in this place. I knocked on the door of room 237. Allison answered, wearing clothes I recognized from our marriage. She looked shocked to see me. "Jack, what are you doing here? Can I come in?" The room was exactly what I'd expected. Cheap, depressing, smelling of industrial disinfectant and broken dreams. Allison's few possessions were scattered around like the remnants of a life that had fallen apart. "How did you find me?" "Lucky guess. This is where people end up when they run out of options." She sat on the bed, looking embarrassed. "Is this what you came to see? How far I've fallen?" "No, I came to ask you a question." "What? If I hadn't inherited that money, would you still be with Will?" She was quiet for a long time. "Honestly, I don't know, maybe, probably. At least you're being honest now. What's the point of lying anymore? I've lost everything. My apartment, my reputation, my marriage. Will won't even return my calls. I'm probably going to lose my job when this whole FBI thing comes out." "Your job? Why?" "I work in the same building as Will's company. People are talking, saying I was involved somehow. My boss is looking for an excuse to fire me." I looked around the depressing motel room. "What will you do?" "I don't know. Go back to my parents, I guess. Start over somewhere else. Try to rebuild my life." "In Ohio?" "Yeah. Not exactly the glamorous future I had planned." We sat in uncomfortable silence. Finally, Allison spoke. "Jack, I know you hate me. I know I don't deserve anything from you, but can I ask you something?" "What?" "Are you happy with all this money, this revenge, this new life? Are you actually happy?" The question caught me off guard. "Why do you ask?" "Because you look tired, sad, like winning didn't feel the way you thought it would." She was right, and I hated that she could still read me so well. "I got what I wanted," I said. "Did you? Or did you just get even?" I left without answering, but her question haunted me. Was I happy? I had everything I'd ever dreamed of. Money, a beautiful house, the satisfaction of seeing my enemies destroyed. But Eddie was right. Revenge wasn't the same as happiness. That evening, I sat in my library with a glass of expensive whiskey, thinking about the past month. I'd gone from broke Uber driver to millionaire, from betrayed husband to victorious warrior, from nobody to somebody. But I was also alone. More alone than I'd ever been. My phone rang. Harold Gold. "Jack, I have news about the Pritchard case. He's agreed to plead guilty to federal corruption charges. He'll serve 8 to 10 years and pay full restitution to the city." "What about his assets?" "Everything's being liquidated. His house, his cars, his business. All of it goes to pay fines and legal fees. He'll come out of prison with nothing." "And the challenge to my inheritance?" "Officially withdrawn. The money is yours, free and clear." After Harold hung up, I poured another drink and tried to feel victorious. Will Pritchard was going to prison. Allison was broke and humiliated, and I was rich beyond my wildest dreams. So why did I feel like I'd lost something important? The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in weeks. I knew what I had to do. I drove back to the motel and knocked on Allison's door. She answered, looking surprised and hopeful. "Jack, I want to make you an offer." "What kind of offer?" "I'll give you $50,000, cash, enough to start over somewhere new, get back on your feet." Her face lit up, then immediately became suspicious. "What's the catch?" "No catch, but there are conditions." "What conditions?" "You leave Portland today. You don't come back. You don't contact me. Don't try to reconcile. Don't tell anyone I gave you this money. You disappear from my life completely." "Jack, I'm not doing this for you, Allison. I'm doing it for me. So I can move on without wondering if you're sleeping in your car somewhere." She was crying now. "I don't deserve this kindness." "No, you don't. But I deserve peace of mind." I handed her an envelope containing $50,000 in cash. There's also a bus ticket to Cleveland and the address of a job placement agency. They're expecting you Monday morning. You arranged a job for me? I arranged an interview. What happens after that is up to you. She clutched the envelope like a lifeline. Jack, I know I can't undo what I did, but I want you to know that I'm grateful and I'm sorry, truly sorry. I know you are, but sorry doesn't fix anything. It just makes the ending a little less ugly. I left her there in that motel room, holding $50,000 and a chance at redemption. I didn't look back. That afternoon, I drove to Murphy's Pub for what I knew would be my last drink there as a regular customer. Eddie was behind the bar, polishing glasses and watching the news. You look different, he said, lighter somehow. I gave Allison money to leave town. Eddie raised an eyebrow. After everything she did? After everything we did to each other? She cheated. I destroyed her life. We're even now. You think that's what this was about? Getting even? Wasn't it? I don't know, Jack. You tell me. I sipped my beer, thinking about Eddie's question. You know what the funny thing is? I spent so much energy hating her, planning revenge, destroying my enemies, but I never spent any time figuring out what I actually wanted. And what do you want? I want to build something, create something. Use this money for more than just proving a point. Like what? I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. Eddie smiled. Now that sounds like the Jack I used to know. The one who built a construction company from nothing. That Jack lost everything. No, that Jack got knocked down. Big difference. I finished my beer and left a $100 tip. Thanks, Eddie, for everything. You're not disappearing on me too, are you? No, but I'm done being angry. Time to start being something else. That evening, I sat in my library and made a list of possibilities. Charitable foundations, scholarship funds, investment in local businesses, ways to use Mr. Gutman's gift to build something lasting, something meaningful. For the first time since inheriting the money, I felt genuinely excited about the future. Not because of what I could destroy, but because of what I could create. My phone rang one last time. Will Pritchard calling from jail. Jack, I'm sorry. For everything, the affair, the threats, trying to steal your inheritance. I was wrong about you. Yes, you were. I'm going to prison, 8 years minimum. I'll lose everything. I know. I deserved it, but Allison didn't deserve what happened to her. She was just caught up in my mess. Allison made her own choices, Will. Just like you did. I heard you helped her leave town. That was decent of you. It was necessary for me. Jack, I know you have no reason to forgive me, but I want you to know that I respect what you did. You could have destroyed me quietly, but you exposed real corruption. You probably saved lives by stopping my shortcuts on those buildings. That wasn't why I did it. I know. But it's what happened. Sometimes good comes from revenge, even when that wasn't the point. After he hung up, I sat in the quiet house, thinking about his words. Maybe he was right. Maybe good could come from revenge, even when revenge wasn't the goal. I picked up a pen and started writing. A plan for the Gutman Foundation, dedicated to helping working-class people start their own businesses. A way to honor the man who'd changed my life by changing other lives in return. Outside, Portland sparkled in the evening light, full of possibilities I'd never noticed before. I had money, I had time, and for the first time in months, I had purpose. The loser had gotten lucky. The lucky man had gotten even. Now it was time to see what the even man could become. I raised my glass to the empty room, to Mr. Gutman's memory, to the future I was about to build. Thank you, I said to the silence, for everything. Then I got to work. 3 months later, the Gutman Foundation opened its doors in downtown Portland. Our first loan went to a young woman starting a catering business. Our second went to a mechanic opening his own shop. Our third went to an immigrant family launching a food truck. Each loan came with mentorship, business planning support, and the kind of second chance Mr. Gutman had given me. Each success felt better than any revenge I'd ever taken. I never heard from Allison again. The last I knew, she was working as a paralegal in Cleveland, rebuilding her life one day at a time. I hope she found whatever she was looking for. Will Pritchard was serving his sentence in federal prison. His corruption had been exposed, his victims compensated, his crimes punished. Justice had been served, even if that hadn't been my original intention. As for me, I was learning that the best revenge wasn't destroying your enemies. It was building something so meaningful, so lasting, so good that their betrayal became irrelevant. I was learning to be happy, and that, I realized, was the greatest victory of all.